Hello everyone, Noah the Consequence here, back again with a new video. This is another episode of my Give the People What They Want series, where I discuss controversy within the Dungeons & Dragons game. And once again, I have special guest host, Gorbadoc the Halfling. Say hi, Gorb.
Hello to all my adoring fans.
And I also have with me this time, Varys the Elf. Say hi, Varys.
Hi to Varys.
Right, so last week, the buzz was all about the official Dungeons & Dragons X account, posting this reference to the latest Taylor Swift album. I did a video about it, but one of my main points was that I seriously doubt that the majority of D&D players are also Swifties. However, the people at WotC, or at least whoever's in charge of their social media account, thought that this was going to be a surefire hit. So were either of you guys aware of this at the time?
No, it's new to me.
I don't know anything about current D&D stuff, so no, it's new.
Well, and
Yeah.
it's Taylor's not a Swiftie.
Yeah, I think that just sort of illustrates a point I made in the video last week. But of course, WotC is never content to rest on their laurels. So let's move on to what all the new buzz is about. The new controversy is now shifted to this topic: upcoming releases of the Dungeons & Dragons products that have nothing to do with actually playing the Dungeons & Dragons game. So here we have this article from the Wargamer website. While other RPGs continue to innovate, D&D drops Crochet and coloring books. Dungeons & Dragons will release crochet patterns, coloring books, and child-friendly rules, but not a lot of actual RPG content. Any thoughts on it? Any thoughts on this from you guys?
I'm appalled that they would go with crochet and completely bypass macrame.
The child-friendly rules sound kind of cool because to name another system, Hero Kids, my kids like it. And I don't know if I can get them to play the actual official D&D instead of Hero Kids. If it's, that's cool. The crochet and coloring books, don't care about the crochet. My kids like to color. Maybe they'll be interested in it.
Yeah, because coloring books, they did coloring books back in the day, as I recall. As I remember,
we'll talk about that. We'll talk about both of those things: old coloring books and also the kid-friendly product. So hang tight, we'll get there. All right, so here's some more specific information about this crochet book. Now, it's not going to be released until 2026. Well, it says there at the bottom, March 31st. It's a book of many patterns, humana, people you've never heard of. The patterns cover a range of D&D monsters, as well as magic items, a D20 pillow, and granny squares with symbols for different schools of magic. What do you think about that?
Ooh, if Varys, if they have the ability to crochet a gelatinous cube, I'm sure you're on board with that.
Yeah, I mean, I've always wanted to learn how to crochet. Maybe this is my jumping on point right here. And gelatinous cube, yeah, I would be all for that. That'd probably be the easiest thing to crochet. But maybe not. I mean, it'll be 3D, right? So maybe it would not be easy.
Well, if you do, we will make a video about it when the time comes. All right,
yes, do step by step.
All right, moving on. Also, from 10 Speed Press comes Dragons of the Realms, an official Dungeons & Dragons coloring book going on sale November 18th. This 80-page book primarily features dragons for you to draw on. So you don't have to wait as long for this one. It's coming out in November, so it can make the perfect stocking stuffer for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my kids love to color. We have so many freaking coloring books stuffed in all our drawers and all that. I guess I can get them this one. Sure.
Yeah, I just don't see why this is a focus for them, because this should be, they should farm this out to someone else who could just do tons of these things.
Well, there you go. Sales already. All right, so that article ends with wargaming editor Alex previously talked at length about how D&D is resting on its laurels, while other heroic fantasy RPGs such as Daggerheart, Cosmere, and Draw Steel are leading the charge with creative new projects. Coloring and Crochet are fun side quests, but they sure don't keep us interested in the future of the D&D brand. I would agree. How about you?
Well, I mean, this falls right in line with the. Wasn't there an adventure that took place entirely like as a barista or something like that?
Yeah, you're right. I forget the exact product, but you're absolutely right.
All those other systems you named, I have never heard of them in my life.
Well,
I'm so
that's
out of the
fine.
loop, but yeah. So
That's
I
all
mean,
right.
this has the name cachet, right? It's Dungeons and Dragons. That's the cachet
Exactly.
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
And I
yeah,
talked about that in my last video too. All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Well, if go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say it's almost like they're turning this into everything's Monopoly, all Monopoly the game, and then there's Gorbadoc Monopoly, Varus Monopoly, there's
Yeah, that's
you
right.
know the Cincinnati Bengals Monopoly, the Washington, I guess they're called Commanders now, Monopoly. And, it's all these different monopolies now. It's all these different D&D products.
Well,
Dude,
it's a lifestyle brand, as they're calling it.
I'd pay real money for a Varus Monopoly.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, how
Boardwalk and Park
about
Place. Yeah.
would you pay real money for yet another product? A third
Just wait, there's
official
more.
D&D cookbook is coming soon. Heroes Feast: Legends of the Table. What do you think about that? That's not coming out for over a year, so I couldn't find any real specific details on it other than the fact that they've announced it.
Does it have wassail in it? That's all I want to know.
I don't know. If this one doesn't, maybe one of the first two cookbooks do have it. We can check when the time comes.
Well, thinking out of our own adventures, like if it was like what our people ate when they were on adventure, would basically be dry crackers and water and lots of hard liquor.
Yeah, that would be a realistic
Yeah.
cookbook. Okay, well, Rob Kuntz, one of the few remaining people who worked on the Dungeons and Dragons game at its beginning, had this to say. He says there's nothing left to what we worked so hard to achieve in 1971 through 74. Nothing but loose threads. Now, just as a reminder, I've talked about Rob Kuntz before in previous videos, but as you can see here from this extract from Wikipedia, he played in the second ever game session of D&D set in the world of Greyhawk. He was also the sixth employee hired at TSR in 1975, and he contributed to a couple of the original Little Brown books. Like I say, he's pretty much one of the last ones still around that was with the company back then. A little while later on that same day, Rob sent out a second tweet. The advent of fantasy in games via TSR has been reduced to shiny objects with no fantasy in it whatsoever. It's now a mediocre simulacra patched together for the lifestyle crowd where anything goes to keep them in tune with fantasizing. The more incongruent, the more absurd, the more it has nothing to do with the pursuit of summoning and sustaining fantasy, the better. It takes skill to accomplish spiriting up fantasy, something that has been abandoned for cultivating fantasizing, a marketing department's dream come true. TSR sought the high road in that regard until it succumbed to the lure of money and power, the bottom line quest. Fantasy as once understood in D&D is now for the most part dead. It's long been just another form of entertainment like thousands of others that are. But this was not the case at the onset, something I can hardly forget for the horizons and creative thought that it engendered. Any thoughts on what Mr. Kuntz has to say?
He's a downer, man. I can tell you he's a downer.
He's
off my
harshing your
lawn.
buzz. He's harshing
Get
your
off my
buzz.
lawn.
You meddling kids.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like, I understand where he's coming from, but anything that's proves to be popular is going to be merchandised and merchandised, like Spaceballs, the T-shirt, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
merchandising. Yeah.
merchandising, yeah, yeah. I
All
mean,
right.
I'm sure there was D&D T-shirts back in the '80s too, before when TSR was still, running it.
Well,
And
I plan on
yeah,
talking about that in a future video, but
yeah.
yeah, it's like they all kind of segue together. So, but yeah, that's a subject for another video. Yeah, merchandising. Uh,
Why you
anything
hold
else?
on to? I say that's why you hold on to your old books and don't buy any of this new garbage.
Yeah, absolutely. But I still say, well, it's another topic for another video. All right, let's move on. So this article that I referenced earlier, towards the end, says after the momentous launch of the new core rulebooks, D&D 2024, this year's D&D release schedule has been extremely quiet. So, reading this prompted me to dig into what exactly is being released for Dungeons and Dragons in 2025, what has already been released, and also what is still upcoming. And this is what I came up with. So first we have this starter set, Heroes of the Borderlands. It's due out middle of September, and I covered this in one of my recent videos. It's a well, as it says here, they've taken the old Keep on the Borderlands Adventure module from 1979 and reworked it into this box starter set. So that's one product that's coming up, and one which I will probably get at least in its digital format. What about you guys?
I'm not going near that with a 10-foot pole.
I don't think I'll get it. It's nice that they're going back to the I guess old school OG module to get for inspiration. So that's good. But I don't think I'll get it. Let me know how it is. If it's reviewed well, maybe I will take
Oh,
a look
don't
at it.
worry, I will. Like I said in that last video, the key word in their description was they've, quote, reimagined it. And reimagine is always a danger word these days, so we'll see. All right, well, moving on. We have the D&D Stranger Things Welcome to the Hellfire Club box set coming out in early October. This is the second Stranger Things tie-in product. I want to be kind of excited for this. I did get the first Stranger Things box set when it came out a few years ago. Never opened it, but I got it. But just like with that Heroes of the Borderlands box set, I'll probably just limit myself to the digital version. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this?
Well, Stranger Things was a real disappointment for me because I remember people saying that it always had all these ties to D&D, and in the end, the story didn't really. It was just that the kids in it played D&D, but the baddie from the other dimension, it wasn't really one. It was I was expecting it to be the D&D monster. It wasn't. It was just whatever from another dimension.
No, I mean I really enjoy Stranger Things. I can't wait for the new season that's coming. What, in about 2 months, 3 months from now? But yeah, I might get this. I do have the first Stranger Things set. The last season I thought was really good. Even more D&D stuff it seemed like, but like in D&D inspired. I know what you're talking about, Gorb, in that it's not an actual mind flayer. I mean, but that's how the kids talk. That's like their language of getting ideas across, I guess. So I kind of like that. That's how they do it.
All right, well, the next product coming out is not actually a game product, but rather it is a novel, a new Drizzt novel, The Finest Edge of Twilight. I will admit I enjoyed the original Icewind Dale trilogy, but anything beyond that I really don't care for. But this is part of the product lineup. So are either of you excited for this?
I've read the first, I guess, trilogy of, how do you say his name, Drizzt, and that was okay, but
Yeah,
no,
the
I
Icewind Dale
didn't.
trilogy.
Is that what it is? Okay. I mean, I no, I'm not going to get it. I saw I guess the second trilogy, but
Fair
no, I'm
enough.
not going to get it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
Or
mean, that's what I did. Icewind Dale trilogy, and then I looked at some of the other books, but I've never actually read them.
all right. Well, here is that product, Varus, that you were thinking about for your children. Young Adventures, the Wizards and Warriors Compendium. Designed for middle school readers, provides details on creating a character for D&D without really getting into the rules. Covers lore, humana humana. The goal is to be a gateway for young readers interested in getting into D&D. So in short, a product targeted to young players in general and middle school kids in particular. Now, I can understand the need to bring fresh blood into the game. That's always an ongoing challenge, but it's a very niche product here. So, Varys, what do you think? Is this something you think you'll get?
I may take a look at it. My eldest in middle school, they have a D&D club, and the guy who runs it, I think he's the 6th grade social studies guy. And when you look at the guy, the teacher, you're like, that guy is a D&D player. But so I don't know. It seems like my daughter's not in the club, but it seems like a lot of middle schools are already kind of like, it's more what's the word I'm looking for? Okay to be playing D&D nowadays, because there's a lot of the middle schools around my area, they have the club, and it's actually really popular. Like, they had to cut off signups for my kids' middle school because there are so many kids wanting to play it. So I mean, maybe the regular starter set's already fine for middle schoolers and junior high kids, but this might, I mean, if this is for middle school, I might take a look at it. I mean, I was hoping for something maybe slightly younger, like later primary, elementary school, 4th to 5th graders kind of thing, but we'll see.
Yeah, because I see when I was in middle school, we were playing basic D&D. So I don't know if this is like some new spin on just kind of getting it down to like when you play basic.
Yeah, I don't know. It says it doesn't really get into any rules, so I don't know. Guess we'll just have
Yeah.
to wait until November.
Doesn't get into any rules. What is it? Just gives you an idea what goes on.
I don't know. Covers lore and
Oh.
inside information on weapon spells, magic items.
Well,
Yeah,
hopefully
so I
it's
don't
not
know.
another board game, because they have a couple board games that like introduce the concepts that came out about 2 or 3 years ago. But I mean, they don't need another board game. They need like something that's simple rules. But it doesn't sound like that's going to do it.
Well, also in November, we have this one, Heroes of Faerun, I guess how you pronounce it. Basically, a Forgotten Realms source book for players, which is great unless you do not use the Forgotten Realms setting and don't want to add all this extra stuff into your campaign. So, again, I feel like this is kind of a niche product.
Yeah, it seems like Go ahead, Gorb.
No, I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, it's very niche. You have to be number one in that setting and want to add new things into it.
Yeah, and that
Yeah, I mean,
one's. Go ahead.
I would say so have they been? It's source books. Have they gotten away from that for recent years? Is this kind of they're kind of bringing them back for? I
Well,
guess to tell you
for Forgotten Realms, there have been some source books for other things, but they've finally gotten around to Forgotten Realms again.
well, it's funny because I was under the impression since 4th edition that Forgotten Realms has been the end all be all for campaign settings. Like, all the old settings seem like they're gone. It's always Forgotten Realms,
Oh
Forgotten
yeah,
Realms, Forgotten
but
Realms.
I don't think they have really released new stuff specifically for Forgotten Realms for a while. And that last book was for players. Here's the same thing, come out at the same time, but this one is for dungeon masters. So again, a rather niche product, I would say. All right, well, here's the entry for the coloring book previously mentioned. Comes out November 18th. And I realize that adult coloring books are a thing these days, but still, I imagine that the audience among D&D players for this sort of thing is not huge.
Well, and it's been done. I mean, it's dead easy to do coloring books. They had coloring books many years ago. There was a coloring book I remember seeing for the D&D cartoon from the 80s.
Yeah, we'll talk about that. Another new product coming out later this year. Now, this is not coming from WotC. This isn't a licensed product that's being published, but it's a campaign journal for Dungeons and Dragons for DMs. And just like it, you can read the description. It's a journal for dungeon masters to keep track of stuff.
Oh,
I mean, it could be useful for some people. I imagine a lot of people just write stuff down in a regular notebook, or else just use an electronic device like a pad or a laptop or something. But I don't know. Maybe there is a market for this.
that's a cool cover.
Well, there
I like the
used to
cover.
be, the cover looks like Venger out of the old.
Yeah,
It is.
yeah,
That's
it
who. That's
does. It does.
exactly is who it's supposed to be.
I was about to say V'ger, but that's from Star Trek, right? V'ger.
Venger, whatever.
Reacher, Avenger. Hey, maybe that's a product tie-in they can do. Okay, so you got a DM journal. So at the same time, they're coming out with a players campaign journal. Same premise, a book for players to keep track of all their stuff in. Back when I was a player, I had a Trapper Keeper notebook.
Yeah, Trapper
Right.
Keeper. That looks like the mouth of Sauron
And the Eye of Sauron.
and the Eye of Sauron all in one. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, there's another stocking stuffer for you coming out late November. Another thing coming out, Tyranny of Dragons Legendary Edition. Again, this is a licensed product. WotC is not putting this out themselves. This is an actual Dungeons and Dragons gameplay product, but it's a great, huge premium box set, and we all know what the word premium is going to mean for it, don't we?
Cha-ching, cha-ching.
Yep, exactly. We'll get into that. And finally, there's this thing coming out in December, Eberron, the Forge of the Artificer, another campaign supplement, which is fine for if you're actually using this setting. And if you look, it says this book makes significant changes to both lore and rules, including removing species requirements for dragon-marked houses. Now, I have no idea what dragon-marked houses are. But the fact that they're removing species requirements just tells me that they're watering it down. And it's just another example that WotC's going in where when everyone is special, then no one is special.
Yeah, I mean the reason I play an elf is because he has pointy ears and he lives a long time.
And
Yeah,
he's the only one who can get a hold of the drugs, the elf root.
Yeah, and he
yeah,
can
there
hold
you
his
go.
own because he has a higher tolerance because his metabolism, right? Yeah.
It's the species thing.
Yeah, well, it's like I've said before in previous videos. They've got it down to the point where everything is just a human in a skin suit, and I still believe that.
It's like if you did this to Star Trek's Mr. Spock, if he's not a Vulcan, he's just a human.
The human in a skin suit.
Yeah, he's not. That's the whole point. He's a Vulcan.
All right. Well, let's summarize all these products. So we have the Heroes of the Borderlands, which is really just a recycled classic adventure module. We have this Hellfire Club thing, which is a pop culture crossover product. We have the novel, which is a new novel about an old IP. We have this compendium, which is a very niche product intended for middle school players. We have this Forgotten Realms book, again, recycled campaign setting. And the DM's version of it, again, recycled campaign setting. We have the coloring book, which again, I think is rather a niche audience. And we have this Eberron thing, again, a recycled campaign setting, only interesting for people who actually play that setting. And then I just squeezed in this last product that I just found out about. There is a new comic book compendium that's coming out. That's a licensed D&D product, so a comic book. All right. So there's those things. Now, let me talk again about this thing, this gigantic campaign product. So the box that I pictured earlier is only part of it. There's also separate boxes for maps and miniatures. Now remember, I said a minute ago, this thing is advertised as a premium product, and we all already know what that means. It's going to have a premium price tag to go with it. So how much you think you would expect to pay for all this stuff? Any guesses, Gorbadoc?
$19.99.
But wait, there's more.
I feel like Bob
Um,
Barker and Varys. What do you?
Ginsu blades.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it's in between an Xbox Series S and a PS5. So I'm gonna say $400.
Ding 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 ding! $399.
Wow.
You are the
Holy
next
crap.
contestant on The Price is Right.
I just
Well,
kind of
actually,
feel
you went over,
yeah.
so I think technically that didn't count. But with tax, you
Yeah.
would be under. Okay, so I mean, cool. But really, honestly, how many people have that kind of spare cash that's laying around to spend on something like this? I mean, really, I'm sure some people do and some people will, but this is not a product for the masses.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like I just said, I would rather get an Xbox or a PlayStation because I could probably get more utility out of that, and
Well,
more
yeah, exactly.
use out of it. Yeah.
Right. So anyway, and that's it. Those are all of the yet to be released official licensed D&D products scheduled to be released over the remainder of this year. At least only those are the ones that I could find just searching around online. Now, already this year has been released the Monster Manual for D&D 2024. That's the final of the core rule books. And then there's also this Dragon Dells Adventure Anthology. So far this year, we're like 2/3 of the way through the year, and they've released 2 products. So I understand what that article is talking about when they say it looks pretty sparse. So let's summarize. We have I made a this slide here, 2025 Dungeons and Dragons product release. Products released by Wizard of the Coast, total of 6. Licensed Dungeons and Dragons products, total of 6. New original products, 2. The Monster Manual and the Dragon Tales, and I put original in quotes because the Monster Manual, it's a new book, but it's includes pretty much, probably, I'm sure almost all the monsters in it have been appeared in previous editions of the book, but technically it's a new product. So recycled settings or pop culture tie-ins, 7. Total number of actual D&D game accessories, 9. And total official D&D products released for 2025, 12. So there you go, 12 products, not even all of which are game accessories to support the latest edition of Dungeons and Dragons. Any thoughts on that?
In the good old days, wouldn't you do something like a whole slew of adventures? That way,
Well,
you at least be producing something people could use instead of
you're
like
very
books.
prescient in saying that, because we're almost there. Just hold on to your hat.
So tell me, during the transition from first edition AD&D to second edition, was there like a lull in action as they ramped up stuff for second, or was there? I mean,
my memories from those days are they hit the ground running, and we're about to see that. Give you a couple of slides. We're getting there. Okay, so yeah, you can understand why that article says it's pretty anemic. The release schedule is pretty anemic. Now, these particular products, there's been a lot of online derision directed towards these particular products. You got the coloring book and those 2 campaign journals, one for DMs and one for players. They've been called lazy products because one will contain mostly just line art, while the others will consist of primarily blank pages. However, to be fair, these are not new product ideas. Similar products were released by TSR back in 1979, 1980. You got that D&D coloring book, Gore, that you were talking about. And then there was the Dungeon Master Adventure Log, which came out in 1980, and this player character folder and adventure record that came out in '79. So, although WotC is some people are heaping derision on WotC for those new products, they're not the first. TSR did it back then.
I like the coloring of that DM adventure log. The white, the red on the white. That's cool.
Yeah, I had a copy at the time. I have a clean copy now in my collection.
Isn't that the Otis is the artist on that one?
Yeah, Earl Otis.
Oh
Both
yeah, you can.
both
Yeah.
both of those.
Yep. He has a distinctive style. You can kind of tell.
Yeah. He's my favorite TSR artist from the old days. Okay, so
I
all of
remember
this.
the thing that struck me about those is that was what they were still putting out lots of adventures at the same time.
Okay,
The adventure
well,
module.
yep, I'm getting there. You're about 2 steps ahead of me there, Gorb, as usual. All right, so thinking about this made me wonder what else TSR was releasing during this time frame. So the first edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide was published in August of 1979, and it was the last of the 3 core first edition rulebooks to be released. Thus, 1980 was the first year devoted solely to publishing material to support first edition AD&D as well as other TSR products. So, what exactly did TSR release for the Dungeons & Dragons game during 1980 is question. Well, I researched that, and in no particular order, we have the following. The Deities and Demigods Rulebook, hardback rulebook. It remains a popular item. I don't know if either of you have a copy of this, but it's a great resource.
I've got the one with the added the extra mythos in there that got
Right.
deleted.
Yep. Yeah, that's a big legend among D&D history. Varys, do you have anything to add?
No, I don't have that book.
All right. Well, also in 1980, TSR released the World of Greyhawk campaign setting folio, consisting, that's a folder, a cardstock folder consisting of 2 booklets and the large fold-out map of the World of Greyhawk. This is before the box set. This is the folio.
Yeah, good stuff. I have 2 copies, not for this video, but it'd be interesting for us to take a look at. There, I have 2 copies, and they're both are slightly different. So I'm curious about the editions of the folio, just for the folio.
Yeah,
The
there were
different
different
editions and
printings.
versions. Yeah.
Yeah, there were, I don't remember how many printings they made of it, but yeah, there were, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 printings before they then came out with the World of Greyhawk box set. But 1980, the folio came out. Dungeon Module A1, Slave Pits of the Undercity, came out in 1980. Dungeon Module C2, Hidden Shrine of Tomoacon, came out in 1980. I'm sorry, that's C1. I have a typo there. C1. It should be C1. C2 is next. C2, Dungeon Module C2, Ghost Tower of Inverness. Dungeon Module Q1, Queen of the Demon Web Pits, 1980. Dungeon Module S3, Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, 1980, which you guys just finished.
Yes.
Dungeon Module X1, The Isle of Dread. Now, there are conflicting sources on that. Some say it actually wasn't available until 81, whereas others said 80. But I think it's safe to say that at least the work was done on it during 1980. Amongst all this other stuff I've already mentioned, they also at least did the work to create this adventure module.
Well, you see, the one thing that TSR, they used back then that isn't in vogue now is this little thing called talent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And other people have videos about that, which I'll reference at the end of this video. In 1980, that Dungeon Master's Adventure log that we already looked at. Also, the Rogues Gallery, which is a very useful. It's got a ton of NPCs of all different classes, which the dungeon master can just pull and drop into their game. All the stats, everything are already generated.
And names.
And names, yeah, exactly. We also had this player character record sheets. These are for the basic D&D game, but a new version of a booklet of new character sheets that can be used. This came out in 1980, Dungeon Geomorphs. Now, to be fair, this is not a brand new product. This is a recompiled and re-edited source that came out in the late 70s as individual products. The print might be hard to see. It says set 1 to 3. Originally, it was 3 different products. They combined it into one product and re-released it. But that takes editing and all that other business which goes into publishing. So they did that in 1980.
That's a cool illustration. I like that with the kid.
Yeah, yeah. Another recompilation is this Monster and Treasure Assortment. Same thing. They took products that had come out in the 90s, or I'm sorry, 70s, and recompiled it and re-released it. Also in 1980, this reissue of Dungeon Modules D1 and D2, Descent into the Depths of the Earth. Those modules originally came out in 78. They did a little editing, added new artwork, combined them together, and re-released it as this product in 1980. Same thing with Dungeon Module D3, Vault of the Drow, was reissued in 1980. Then they also, back then, they did not skimp on things like the catalog. There was this catalog, Gateway to Adventure. It was a glossy, stapled binding. It was an actual catalog of all the products that TSR was currently selling. And they had put it in box sets. They were, you could get it for free, basically. They didn't skimp on the production quality.
Mm.
All
It's like
right,
the
so
Sears
those are all the game products that came out in 1980. You want to take a crack at what else TSR was doing back then? Anyone?
Well, they had a few board games that they were
Yeah,
doing it.
and I consider those, but they're not actual Dungeons and Dragons products, so I
Well,
skipped
they were
that.
not. Well, they had other role playing products, like
Yeah, they
Starfront.
did, but again, I decided to restrict myself only to Dungeons and Dragons just to keep it fair. What they were doing back then was releasing a monthly magazine, The Dragon. Once a month, a full glossy magazine in support of the Dungeons and Dragons game, as well as other products like you mentioned. But I just have here, for illustration purposes, the covers for January, February, and March. Then we have April, May, and June 1980. Now you'll notice on the next slide, the design of the cover changes. Now it's just called Dragon Magazine. This is when they changed it from The Dragon to just Dragon. And then they also, as you can see, they have that the text at the top with some of the highlights of what's actually in the magazine. But here we have July, August, and September. And then finally, October, November, and December. So in addition to all that other stuff, a monthly magazine to support the game. And then if that were not enough, they also found time to compile this, Best of the Dragon, which just took some of the most favorite articles that had appeared in Dragon magazine up to that point, and they compiled them into this Best of magazine and put that out as well. So that's what the old TSR was up to upon the newly released first edition AD&D. Now, earlier with D&D 2024, I talked not only about in-house products, but official licensed third-party D&D products. So let's do that with first edition AD&D. So in 1980, what was the only company licensed to produce official Dungeons and Dragons products? Gorb, I'm sure you probably know.
Is that Judges Guild?
You're absolutely right. It was Judges Guild. They were the only non-TSR company that had a license to publish officially branded Dungeons and Dragons products.
What about the company over in Britain that does Warhammer? Did they had the British rights to it or something like that, or was that later on?
I have no idea, but it was probably later on. As far as I know, in 1980, only Judges Guild had the rights to use the AD&D logo on their own products. All right, so what did they produce in 1980? Well, lots of more adventure modules. We have this one, Citadel of Fire. You can see the approved for use with Dungeons and Dragons. I know the text is small, but you can see it at the bottom of the cover. We have this, Frontier Forts of Kelnor. Again, approved for Dungeons and Dragons. Dark Tower, approved for use with Dungeons and Dragons. This is regarded as one of the best non-TSR D&D adventures ever created. If you look at best of lists, Dark Tower always ranks really high. This one, Sword of Hope. This one, Tower of Illusion, I guess how you would pronounce it. You see the Dungeons and Dragons logo at the bottom. Escape from Astagar's Lair, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Treasure Vaults of Lindoran, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Inferno, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I have a vague memory of my brother running this. I have no memory of what actually happened, but I do remember my brother taking some of us through this.
Is that like Inferno? It's like red and blue. Is that like a 3D kind of effect? Like put 3D glasses on and it pops out? That's what it looks like. I don't know.
Maybe, I don't know. I've never tried. But you're right, it does look like that. Moving on. Portals of Torch, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Spies of Lighthouse, approved for use with Dungeons and Dragons. Wilderlands of the Fantastic Reaches. You see the logo at the bottom. Book of Treasure Maps 2, Dungeons and Dragons aid. And then one more product, I didn't want to make a new slide for it. Unknown Gods, Dungeons and Dragons. So, as you can see, not only TSR, but Judges Guild was very busy as well in 1980. And this is only officially branded D&D products. They had a whole bunch of other products, too, that were not specifically for Dungeons and Dragons. Now, just as an aside, in compiling this list, I did not include officially licensed miniatures for either 1980 or today. I had to draw the line somewhere. But they did exist back then, and they still do now. There was Grenadier models in 1980 and WizKids today. And I love those old Grenadier box sets. The artwork, I think, is great on them. Gorb, did you have any of these back in those days?
We may have had one or two. We generally didn't use miniatures in our game.
Yeah, they're quite collectible now, especially if they're still in the box and the box isn't all thrashed because, just by the very nature, they saw a lot of heavy use back then. Ferris, do you have any comments?
Not really. I know WizKids is usually highly thought of. Prior to this year, they make some good board games supposedly.
Yeah, I'm not
so,
saying
yeah.
there's anything wrong with them, but there's just so many miniatures out there. I didn't include. I decided not to include miniatures when talking about licensed products, either from 1980 or today, just to keep it manageable. All right, well, let's summarize, just like we did with D&D releases in 2025. Let's summarize 1980. So I count products released by TSR, 29. Licensed Dungeons and Dragons products, 17. New, original, never before seen products, 36. recycled gameplay products 5. And that was those like the D series adventure modules are included in that. Total number of actual D&D game accessories 41. Total official D&D products released in 1980 42, and the difference is that catalogs. It's on an actual game accessory, so that's why 41, 42. But 42 total products. So let's compare side by side 1980 versus 2025. I mean, just at a glance, you can see the difference between the two.
Yeah, but I'll bet you good money there wasn't anything in 1980 that cost $400 to get.
Okay, well, I'm about to talk about that once again. You're a couple of steps ahead of me. Your mind is like a steel trap, Gorbadoc.
A sieve, more like a steel sieve.
A steel sieve, okay. Yeah, so especially these numbers that I've circled here 36 new original products, 42 total, versus 2 original products, total of 12. So then, after thinking about that, I thought, well, how much would all of this cost? If I were a Dungeons and Dragons completionist, what would it cost me to buy all of these things when they were released? Well, I came up with a total of $194 in 1980. Now, the Dragon magazine issues and the Judges Guild adventures all have a price printed on the cover, so I just used those. The other TSR products were typically sold in shrink wrap, and the retailer would put a price sticker on it. And then, of course, when somebody bought it and opened it, there went the price. So I had to do a little more research and get suggested retail prices for those items. But the total I came up with is $194 in 1980. Total prices that I came up with for the 2025 releases, those are, of course, easy to find because they're all current products. But the total I came up with for those is $866. Now, of course, the 1980 amount is a lot cheaper because it was in 1980. So I used an online website to adjust the 1980 total for inflation and convert it to 2025 prices. And the adjusted total I came up with is $760. So to summarize all that, 1980, 42 products for $760 adjusted 2025 dollars versus 12 products for $866. Any comments on that?
It would be interesting to see, obviously in 1980, that nothing was marked as being this is a premium product, right? So I'd be curious, half of the price for the 2025, nearly half is from that $400 thing, right? So I'm kind of curious, if you took that out and then at least down to 11 products, how much, I guess it would be around $466 or so. But yeah, I mean, still a lot less product, for the amount of money that you're paying. It's still a lot less product.
Right. I mean, yeah, you're right. But it's a premium product. Okay, cool. How is that going to enhance your game? I mean, if you've ever seen, and Gorbadoc, I'm sure you probably, those judges, what do you remember about those Judges Guild products? I'm sure you must have seen some back in the day.
Oh yeah, what my memory of those was that the print quality was less. They often had little smudges in them and so forth. And from the we didn't have a lot of them, but the ones that I had seen, um, they got better over time. But I remember the ones from like 80 and were there were a lot of them that were just silly. The kind of some of
Yeah.
the that they did.
Yeah,
Not
you're
all of them,
right.
but a few of them were just plain silly.
The print quality was less. They were, you may recall, usually they were printed on like newsprint quality paper. TSR, the paper stock tended to be heavier. They had the glossy covers, whereas Judges Guild was, like say newsprint, but they were just always cram packed with details.
Oh yeah, I remember that. And they were like what, $5 then, and you
Yeah,
got a
well, a lot of those, like I say, they had the price printed on the cover. They usually hovered between $3 and $4. TSR products were a couple of bucks more because of the higher print quality, but still, let's average, say, $6. That Deities and Demigods book sold for $15 back in the day. That Greyhawk Folio, the suggested price was $9. So the point is, you got way more value, in my opinion, and I think these numbers bear it out. You got way more value for your dollar back then than you do today.
Well, it has to be said that first edition AD&D is the ultimate expression of Dungeons and Dragons. Everything else pales in comparison.
Yes, I'm aware of your fanatic devotion to first edition. Varys, do you have any comments?
Not really. Yeah, just I was thinking about as you were talking there, what Gorb was talking about with the print quality and all that, and a lot of those products from 1980. I think a lot of more. I have some here, like the Shrine of the Kuatoan and all that. The way that they're made, it's almost like a stapled kind of. They're not portfolios like the folio edition of Greyhawk, but you know what I mean. It's kind of like a more of a, I won't say lower quality, but a cheaper quality to produce. I wonder,
Oh yeah,
like some of these books and all that, if they did that again, like if they're gonna make adventure modules, they're all digital now, right? So I wonder,
yeah, and they're
you know,
hardback books. As far as I
yeah.
know, everything
Yeah,
is a hardback book now.
yeah. So I wonder if that's a little bit of difference too. But I guess if they wanted to cut back on costs nowadays, they could put everything on drive through RPG. Like you could pay, I don't know, $5, probably $6, $7, $8 for one of the adventures, but they gotta obviously pay their talent.
Well,
Quotation
yeah,
marks. Yeah.
that touches on something that Gorbadoc said earlier. That's just it. The talent pool today versus back then, there's no comparison at all, in my
Yeah. That's,
opinion.
that's like quotation marks, talent quotes,
Well,
end
Yeah,
quotes.
that leads me to something that to be fair about is that what's happening today is that in 1980 D&D was essentially the only game in town. There was wargaming, there was a few other things, but there wasn't much else in the way of role playing. Certainly not in fantasy role playing. There was a little bit here and there, but that's all there was. Now you have the video games, the console games.
yeah, true.
That's a whole. Like my son, for example, his only experience with D&D is playing Baldur's Gate 3.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair comparison, but there's a reason why role-playing games like that still exist today because no computer game can really replicate that experience.
My first playing of any kind of thing that would be remotely close to D&D would be Atari's Adventure. Atari 2600 Adventure, the little dot, and and you had to fight the duck dragon. So yeah, I mean, so even
Yep,
back then they had Adventure, but I mean,
and we
yeah,
thought it was
obviously,
great.
yeah. So it was great, right? Yeah.
We were glad to have it. We had a dragon that looked like a duck, and we were glad to have it. By cracky. All right, any final thoughts?
I don't know. I think it's WotC. I mean, it's WotC. It's
Yeah, exactly.
they're so concentrated on Magic the Gathering. WotC was good in the 90s when Magic first started. It just, I don't know. It seems like since the late 90s, early 2000s, I think it's just gone downhill. Probably has to do with Hasbro too, because Hasbro owns them, and Hasbro had telling them to do the Avalon Hill because they bought Avalon Hill too, right? Hasbro. So WotC, you're going to take control of Avalon Hill. So it's like, I don't know. WotC's trying to do all this stuff at once, and I don't know. Just it's more of a quantity versus quality,
Yeah,
Gorbadoc?
exactly. I mean, I think you just see it's a watering down of the brand over years. They're wagering everything on the name and nothing on the actual quality. You see that with a lot of brands over the years. I mean, Disney, things like that. There's a lot of things that have just gotten, they're not what they used to be, and that's what this is. It's watered down, it's merchandised, and it's just being flogged until they can't flog it anymore.
Well, and that ties into a quote I read in one of those articles researching for this video. It basically said these days, instead of trying to be great, WotC is spending all their time trying to remind everybody how great Dungeons and Dragons once was. And that's probably a good way to summarize it. Well, I don't know about you, but after going through this thought exercise, the outlook for the Dungeons and Dragons game is even more depressing than I thought it was before I started this whole thing. Any last thoughts on that?
Well, I guess on top of that, we haven't talked about it in a while, but is WotC and Hasbro, are they going to keep the old offerings on Drive-Thru RPG, or are those going to be coming down, or at least you still have access to the old stuff if it's on there, right?
As long as they're making money off of it, I'm sure it'll stay available. That's what it comes down to. Gorbadoc?
At least there's that. At least there's that.
Yeah, I was just gonna say thanks for cheering me up.
Yeah, glad to. I thought you might enjoy it. Spending your Saturday night talking about this sort of thing. Well, if you didn't get enough from us talking for almost an hour, plenty of other YouTubers have commented on this same topic. So feel free to give their videos a watch if you have not already seen any of them. And with that, I will sign off. Say goodbye, Gorbadoc.
Happy trails, everybody.
Varys.
Good night and good luck.
And with that, thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like button. Please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. The way YouTube works is viewer engagement helps a lot. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. If you know of a good place, please share the video. And anything you can do to help support the channel, I appreciate it. Thanks again. Bye for now.